1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So I have 2:30.
We've got Dick McElhenney on.
Dick, I don't see Jeffrey. Hi, Mike.
Hi. Sorry, I was on mute there, just listening in.
The question is, should we start without Jeffrey, or we going to
Yeah, we can. Well, it's 2:31. If he's gonna, I think he wouldn't want to keep us waiting. He's always respectful of people's time.
Okay. I did send out minutes of the last meeting, which I just sent my revision of them.
I would move that the minutes as revised by David be accepted.
Did you got a chance to see them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think there was anything controversial in them. Is there a second?
Yep.
All in favor of accepting the minutes? We've got 1, 2, 3, and we're a quorum anyway, so okay.
David, I
want to have a discussion about how we do minutes, right?
Right. I want to be respectful of Nina's time. I think Nina does and our money in paying Nina for this. Nina does a fantastic job on organizing the minutes and gets them out to us quickly. I also think it's appropriate, since there are minutes, that we should offer edits, but I don't think it's Nina's job at that point to be the scrivener on those corrections. And so I would recommend that when we do the redlining, we should red on them among ourselves, copy Nina, but not expect her to incorporate those changes and wait for our vote.
I agree with that. You know, I mean, if it's just one person who redlines, then it's only that person's memory, and sometimes those memories are faulty. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think of the things that we must have, we need to talk about the topics that we talk about. We need to register motions and votes, and you know, the important things like when the next meeting is and so on. Mm-hmm. Which Nina gets all of that in. Sometimes in the discussion, I wind up I probably wind up flushing them out a little bit so that a lay reader could look at them and understand what we were talking about.
Yeah, I think that your edits are always cogent and offer clarity and context. I just think that at $30 an hour, I'd rather we do that editing stage.
Okay. You mean you're going to pay me $30 an hour?
No, we're going to keep your stipend right where it is, mister.
Okay. You're going to keep me at my same pace here. Okay. Do we need to talk about that anymore, or should we move further down the agenda?
Further down.
Further down.
I'm looking for my agenda. I have it here. All these things disappear on my, okay. Financials review.
Steve sent financials through June 30th out last week to Dick and then us as well. He particularly, hey Bill, he particularly was, as he always does, asked Dick for any substantive concerns. I didn't see anything that jumped off the page as an error. He did note in his comments that the village still owes the sewer and the water companies their particular, you know, the sharing of the expenses. Those payments were being held up a little bit, but Nina has also been working on that to make sure that we get those all current. Right, Nina?
Yes, everything is paid. I delivered the payments yesterday for everything for the village.
Terrific.
Okay. So if the bills went out in the middle of July and by the 10th or 12th of August, we've got about half of it back. And the other half is outstanding. I don't suppose that's too off the wall. I'd be upset if it was that way by September.
Mhm. And I think in terms of Nina's plan and taking over the bookkeeping and the financial advisor role, I think we're going to see that these financials are shared on a more regular and timely basis. I think that we're going to be setting the overseers meetings on Sunday with an eye towards keeping this Friday, Sunday schedule going and making sure that the overseers meetings match Nina's expected preparation. So
Right.
I think we'll see some efficiencies coming down with Wendy and Nina working together.
Okay. Okay. I think we should then move to the superintendent's report.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. I submitted my report along with the attachments, I think Wednesday morning sometime. If I could just highlight areas of that report for those who may not have read it, or for anybody that's here today that doesn't customarily get that report. I will do so. On the water side, we purchased an average of around 39,000 gallons per day, which was up about 33% year over year for the month of June. And obviously because of the heat and the drought and the need to water lawns and gardens and flowers, I suspect that is exactly the reason for that.
I think that probably the 400,000 gallons that my leaking toilet consumed in June also helped you along the way.
Toilet is out to 7,000 to 8,000.
One swimming pool that got filled, and I have a neighbor down at the bend of the road who waters every morning for hours.
Yeah, and I caught Blaine watering his flowers this morning too. Blair, excuse me.
Weren't there more people here earlier this year?
I don't really think so. I wish Bill was here. As to that, he's in the village every day, but I really don't think so.
By the way, Bill is here, Dick. I don't know if you can see him, but
oh, I didn't see him. Yep. Yep.
I would say back when we had water shortages, we told people that they couldn't fill their stand-up pools.
Really?
It's not as if we've got a water shortage, at least that they told us about.
You know, and Bill has mentioned to me that construction project there next to the hoot might be consuming quite a little extra water there too, just them seeing. So, so moving on, the lead and copper testing for 2020, all the results are in, all 10 samples collected. We're well within the EPA permissible limits. We will be submitting test results to those individual members who did participate with us, and we of course always thank them for that. On the wastewater side, the sewer department will be reporting an exceedance for enterococci in June, basically by default for exceeding the monthly average of 8. Since we can only use 1 to 10 dilutions, we'll never meet that. All other parameters were well within the allowable limits. Also looking forward in July, we did have one bad sample for one of the weekly tests that resulted in 2 exceedances, both, you know, 2 exceedances, excuse me, for fecal and 2 also for enterococci. Several days after that Tuesday test, Jim Crowley of the Maine DEP visited the plant to acquaint, he's our new inspector, just to acquaint himself with the plant's operation and process for both treatment and disinfection, and basically found no operation or process problems that he could see related to the problems that we're having with the disinfection of these test organisms. Also, and I attached.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It is concerning to me, who doesn't understand any of the science, that we've had these, because we'd never had these before.
It is a problem that has, you know, developed over the last couple of years. That's right.
Is the is it something that we're going to likely see again? I mean, we've answered the question as to why we think it's sampling errors or testing errors. But are we likely to have this as something we're going to see every month?
You know, until we can get a handle on it, you know, perhaps. I don't.
We did pass this. Our most recent test did pass. We've also ups and ups and ups our chlorine. So
Mhm.
You know, there's really two things you
we
need
have
to do
very high chlorine usage.
effectively disinfect your wastewater. Number one is you need enough contact time. You need at least 30 minutes of contact time. For the month of June, we had contact times averaging 20 hours, you know, basically 40, 50 times greater than what it really is necessary. The other factor is your chlorine dosage. Are you maintaining your chlorine dosage? Are your pumps, metering pumps, running 24/7? You know, is your tank, you know, that stores your hypochlorite not empty, you know? So, I mean, we can say we can control all of those, and then of course the last thing is the dosage. What are you trying to maintain your chlorine levels at? We right now are maintaining our chlorine levels at roughly, you know, 10 times what historically we have controlled those concentrations at. You know, historically 2.2 to 2.5 milligrams per liter. Today, you know, we've upped them to around, you know, 25, and may have to get up to 30. I mean, I just don't really know how to answer that. We're doing everything that we can possibly do to, you know, to get these under control. But we all knew going into this that enterococcus was going to be a much more persistent test organism to control, and we are learning that.
Right. Okay.
Actually,
You know, Jim is solidly behind us on this. He's not blaming us. He can't believe that we would be seeing positives for either of these test organisms at the concentrations, you know, and the contact time that we have. So, you know, we're going to be getting IDEX labs in, NEL labs in, you know, other people in. I've asked if there was a way we could do a side-by-side analysis using the IDEX test method along with some type of filtration method like we did with fecal last year. You know, that would be nice, but there's, you know, none of the labs are using filtration methods anymore because the enterococcus inter-alert system that IDEX puts out is very, very popular. So, you know, I would like to tell you we're never going to have another one again, but you know, I really can't at this point in time. I absolutely, at this point, until somebody can prove me differently, you know, have no confidence, you know, in this test method that EPA has approved. I'll say it over and over again until somebody can tell me differently.
Okay.
Also, the EPA.
Janae had her hand up, Dick.
Yeah, okay, I didn't see it.
as someone who's sort of ignorant about all of this, in your report, in the last one, the end of the paragraph, and the first paragraph in the second page, you said to shed more light on the possibility of reinoculation and regrowth in the dechlor manhole. Can you explain that, what that possibility is, just a little more?
Well, if you follow our process, you know, after the settling tanks, it goes into a metering and chlorination manhole. And that manhole is where we add chlorine. And after that, it goes into the chlorination contact chamber. It's an 8,000-gallon tank that, like I said earlier, is providing roughly, 40 times the contact time that design engineers think is necessary to effectively disinfect for test organisms. But then after that, it goes into the dechlorination manhole and is immediately dechlorinated. So that tank there is, you know, never sees chlorine. And up until last year, really never seen the light of day until we put that new dechlorination manhole top on, where we can actually access it and see what's going on down there. And then you've got your outfall pipe tube, 600 feet, 12-inch in diameter, that goes 600 feet out into the bay. It also never seen chlorine in its life. And so, you know, as we pump into or gravity feed in to the the bay through that pipe. That is tidal in nature. The average tide is 10 feet, sometimes as much as 13 feet. And it happens like twice a day. So you've got water moving back and forth into our system, twice a day at high tides. So there's that possibility because of that it's flushing bacteria that hasn't ever been disinfected, back into the chlorination tank where we pull our samples out of for reinoculation and then regrowth.
Okay.
Those bacteria. That's one of the possibilities that we're trying to look at. But when you don't have your own lab, when you're required to use an outside lab to do your testing, and only do it once a week, it's a hard thing for us to follow, with the limited time and resources, that we do have. So
Thanks. That
helps you understand it, but
yes, it does. Thank you.
yeah.
Hello, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only question.
Oh, okay. We did, back in June, we submitted a request to the EPA main DEP for a 1-year extension because, a multitude of reasons. And they did finally, I might lose my battery here because I've only got 20. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
If suddenly I disappear, it's because my battery went dead. I don't know how it got from 100% to 20% so quickly, but it did. But anyways, they did finally report back to us, and agreed to that extension if we absolutely needed it, but at the same time, that we could still comply in the order, with the end of the year deadline. I also attached that letter to everybody. The next thing is Ben Casey, of course, was the low bidder, and Deergo sent us the letters of qualifications. And so since the permits have all been approved by Northport, the contracts are signed, we think that construction should begin by Labor Day without any issues, I don't think. Also, Deergo Engineering, this is also attached, submitted a letter of agreement, something I hope you guys have already reviewed and you need to approve so that we can forward that, on to Deergo Engineering. And that letter of agreement was for them to provide engineering oversight during the construction phase of the new chlorination building project. And
I would
then,
move that we approve that letter, that contract, and authorize David as the chair to sign it on behalf of the utilities trustees.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I'll get back on the note.
Well, maybe you want discussion?
Sure.
Jeffrey, did you get a chance to read that letter? Okay. It was pretty basic.
Yes, I read it. It looked basic to me.
yeah, well, they charge us around, I think, $15,000 for construction oversight for the Cove Road project, which was about a month-long project, and Deergo's charging us $20,000 for a project that could be several months. So I thought their estimate was reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
This,
as of August 10th, oh, you guys are going to vote on that, right?
yeah.
Getting ahead of you.
So are you ready to vote, David?
Yeah. So all in favor? 1, 2, 3, Judy, 4. And is Jeffrey there somewhere? I can see.
Jeffrey's the fourth.
He's
Okay.
waving.
Okay, I see 4, okay. So that passes. Okay.
So that letter, you have that letter, David, you'll want to print it and get it to Dick so he can get it to Tim.
Now, I will tell you that I printed it this morning. I signed it this morning and took it over, but I told him he couldn't do anything with it until you guys approved it.
Yeah, I do that, and I will forward that to Tim ASAP.
Okay.
Okay.
Has
Yeah.
anybody actually talked with Blaine Casey down here?
Oh, Blaine?
I have a question. And Bill and I don't know. Bill, did you talk to them yet about when we got the phone call the other day?
No, I have not. I just told Dick about it just before he left today.
Okay, so so Dick, you'll handle them coordinating better, because I
If you
won't have the answers for them.
call from Dirigo regarding the chlorination project or from Blaine?
Dirigo called, and the woman who called said she needed our CMP account number, and she didn't know why, and she didn't know where, and she didn't know how, and Bill tried to call her back and ask her. And I think she was just the messenger, and so
Yeah.
So I mean, because I'm the one that gets the phone call, so I just need to know what's the process.
Right. Well, the process would be for you if you know, for them to, if it's an engineering issue, the process would be for you to tell them to contact Tim Sawtell at Dirigo,
No, it was Dirigo that contacted me, not Blaine Casey.
not Blaine Casey. Okay.
Yeah, no, Blaine Casey contacted Dirigo and wanted the CMP account number, and so Dirigo called us.
Okay. You could have given that to them, right? Yeah.
I don't know which account number. She didn't know what, because we have like 7 accounts with CMP,
Right.
so.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I only know that Blaine Casey was in the village and inspecting the power lines, because there's a buried power line from that lower pole over to the existing plant. And so they'd come down to look at that, and I presume that might be what they were.
Yeah, I think the number is for Broadway Street.
Okay, but if we have 7 different CMP accounts, who is going to look at the bills and answer that question? I mean,
We need to know exactly what they're looking for. So I think Bill's going to contact Blaine Casey and find out what they're looking for. And then also just to make sure if it's to turn something off, that it's not connected to something else that needs to stay on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
The only account number I have is for the street light account, Billy. So I wouldn't know.
Okay. As we get started with this, it's going to be a question of if Tim Sawtell or Dirigo is going to be the contact person. But how are we all going to communicate with each other? They're going to talk to Bill and Billy?
Talk to Tim sent out a letter to Blaine Casey, of who the 2 contacts will be. And Dirigo, the contact for Dirigo is Tim Sawtell, and the contact for the village is myself.
Okay.
Okay.
It would probably be good for us to have a list of phone numbers. I've got Tim Sawtell's phone number, but a phone number for Blaine Casey that one of us can call if there's a problem too.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think
Okay.
that if you have a problem, you should call Dick.
Okay.
And I think if Tim has a problem, he should call Dick. And I think if Dick has a problem, he should call Tim and Blaine Casey. We don't need 17 people
Right.
talking to.
That's always the problem, when we.
Too many people. Okay, that's fine.
Right. And so the last thing I have, and I think you touched upon it earlier, David, was the building report from Amy. And you're right, we basically only received about 57% of what was billed out in July, and a little bit that was still due from March. So.
Okay.
Yeah, they weren't due till August 15th, so.
Right, I'm not too disturbed by that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one question, and this is, when we go to work, particularly when we demolish our existing building, we are going to have to continue to be treating wastewater from a temporary building that's probably even less secure than the one we've got. Do we have any concerns about protecting people from exposure to our chemicals?
Do we have any concerns about, what did you say, something about the chemical?
Protecting people.
We're going to have a temporary
Right.
set up at some point. And I just don't, I don't know whether that's a tent or whether that's a hut or what, exactly what that's gonna be.
That's probably going to be an 8x10 stick-built, building. In that building, our sample,
Take away. Okay,
and our chemical tank and a metering pump.
okay. Well, I just wanted to be sure that it was secure so that people were not going to be exposed.
Well, it will be locked.
Okay.
It will be locked just like the existing control building.
Right. The way they designed the temporary building, they designed it in a way that was mindful of the fact, it's not just an open air building that they're sticking things on the top of the ground.
I suspect one of the important things that will be discussed during the pre-construction meeting, probably sometime end of August, early September, will be the temporary building and where to specifically locate it to keep it out of everybody's way so that they can begin with their construction.
So we're talking about a pre-construction meeting at the end of August, early September. And someone is going to figure out how to coordinate that.
Well, we'll receive our instructions from Dirigo on that.
Okay.
So one of the things that we talked about in our public meeting that we had, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Janae, was to assure that the public knew what the timeline was. And so I think before the pre-construction meeting, we'll want to put an announcement out that there will be a pre-construction meeting on X date. And then whatever comes out of the pre-construction meeting for more concrete start times, we'll put out another notice. Does that seem reasonable?
Well, certainly the second one is essential. I'm not sure whether the first one is.
Okay. Well, I like the idea of putting out the notice of the pre-construction meeting because people will be saying, I wonder what's happening. And so that's the first.
This won't be a public meeting, by the way.
No, it's not one that that people participate in, but we can say we're have the contractor and the engineer and the superintendent are meeting on X date. And after that date, we will be sending out a notice as to more concrete timelines for when you're going to see Blaine Casey's trucks here.
Right.
Otherwise, we have so much activity going on in the park right now. It's people are going to start to worry about the two happening. And so the first thing that we have to tell them is there's a meeting, and then we'll tell you what happens as a consequence of that meeting.
So anybody who's not been down to the park, certainly the granite is arriving. I've seen the Farley truck here, so I presume that the Farley representatives as well that are here receiving the granite and making plans. It will be important that we know who since Farley's a subcontractor for this, that they also be included in the pre-construction meeting.
Right. Well, Blaine Casey will organize that. The guy I talked to was Ross, by the way, and he thought he was going to be in charge of this, but he didn't know. He was in the park the other day. Ross something. He wouldn't Blaine Casey be responsible for getting his subs on board?
Yes, I think so.
So I don't think we need to worry about, Farley knows what they're doing. And as I keep saying, coordination is going to be easy peasy. Our site contractor is the seawall contractor. He can talk to himself.
Right. Okay. Do we have any other business?
Yeah. I'll look at my agenda. Oh, right. Fall removal of meters. We need to put out a notice reminding people that under our PUC guidelines, we have no obligation to provide summer water after October 15th. And so people should plan accordingly. Because Billy's going to start removing meters after that so that we don't have pipes freezing and get in the way.
Um, that's something that could largely be put out to Dan Webster's website. As a
Yeah.
note to people.
I can draft up something so for you guys to look at. You know, we'll do that after Labor Day, but I think it's important to remind people, just in the same way we reminded them in May, that don't be thinking you're going to have water in April, because we aren't going to give it to you till May 15th, because that's what the PUC says.
Okay.
May 1st. Thank you.
The only other thing I would point out is that Janae became an overseer, and Miles Frieden, who was an overseer member of the committee, has gone off. And so we may want to have input about who would want to serve as an at-large member of the Utilities Committee.
Jeffrey has his hand up.
Remind me how many members of this committee there are. So there are three.
There are 5. There are 3 overseers. So now that would be me, you, and Janae. Then there's 2 lay people, or at-large people. David, Janae was the at-large, filling out Gordon's term. I never remember whose term ends what, but I think that the process that John used last time, asking people if they're interested and then having them give written resumes or written statements of interest, I think that's what John would be looking for again. I think that one of the things that's important is the ability to attend meetings. Obviously, Zoom meetings have been a boon for us all in this pandemic, but the Fridays at 2:30 are built around our superintendent's schedule, because he's already on the clock at that point. And of course, an interest.
Yeah, I expressed at the annual meeting that the Zoom meeting does give us better participation of the village as a whole, but there are a lot of things where we would do better if we can see each other face to face. And
right.
At some point we'll be able to do that again.
My personal experience has been, for many years, as you all know, I did this from my desk in Brunswick, because I couldn't rationalize a Friday, leaving the office at noon to lose the whole day, which is usually Friday. As Janae probably knows, usually the day that everything has to be done. And so I would sit at my desk, and I just think that the face-to-face, that when I started to just come up because I was losing so much understanding, just made such a big difference to plan, see the building, see the people.
I mean, the video makes it better.
Yeah, the video's been a boon.
So right now, the rules that dictate how public meetings are to be held have been relaxed because of the pandemic. How much, do we have any sense how much longer that's going to last?
Well, we're queuing it off of the governor's order, and she can only do the state of emergency for, is it 30 days at a time?
And she keeps just.
Yeah, so right now, I think the latest one is September 15th. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
I think that the betting team has said that if this is going to continue through 2020. And much like the trustees meetings, we're governed, because we do deal with public funds here, or publicly authorized funds through the PUC, at least for the water side. We have to give deference to the public meeting laws, but what we've always done here is if we have a physical quorum in the room, we feel a little more relaxed, which is why some people, like I, used to sit on the phone.
I would say your notion of the president soliciting or asking people who are interested in serving to give him a written notice of their interest is good, but you've only got 2 days till your next overseer's meeting for that to happen. and then you're stuck till the next overseers meeting for, unless the president in the meanwhile feels empowered to name a person.
So no, it just, do the overseers appoint the at-large people to this board, or does the board appoint?
The board makes a recommendation, and then the appointments are from the president at the direction of the trustees.
It's, you know, I mean,
Which, when Jeffrey, when you were appointed, and you have been such a godsend to every committee that you serve on, but you will recall that I raised a bit of a kerfuffle with John, because John didn't do it the right way. John said, hey, Jeffrey, you're a good guy. Why don't you be a utility trustee? And I was like, no, there are rules. So, and then appropriately, John did a bit of a kerfuffle back at me when I said, hey, Gordon says Janae should do this. Let's put Janae on. He said, no. So I think we should honor that process that he came up with the last time, particularly if we had more than one person interested. I have no idea if we have anyone interested. I have my own wish list, but I'm sure that everybody has a wish list.
So I'm just trying to understand the process. So we know we have a vacant seat. So do we? I mean,
we don't want you to quit, Jeffrey. We want you.
No. I'm not going to quit. So do we post something on BaysideMaine.com saying there is a vacant seat, an at-large seat on the utilities board? Any interested parties, please contact John Spritz, answering the following 3 questions or something, something like that. And then,
Yeah.
I would prefer contact, or anyone interested, tell the utilities trustees, so that then we could make a recommendation.
And we collect the information and then make a recommendation to John.
Yeah.
Could we have interested parties?
Or if we don't want to make a recommendation, if we say, boy, everybody seems great, then dump it in John's lap.
Yeah, but have people express their interest to the utilities trustees via some email address, or send it to David.
Yeah, send it to David. And I think that you were concerned, I think someone mentioned, I think it was Jeffrey, well, gee, that means we're not going to get this taken care of by August 16th, obviously. And then our next meeting is until the end of September, middle of September. I don't think that there's action items that we need to worry about, that we need 5 people in the next 8 weeks.
4 members, we've went along sometimes 2 or 3 months with 4 members. Well, your big worry is that you won't have a quorum.
Right. Right. And I think that because we'll have Zoom, I think that we'll be okay. And I do think we will be better served than I served you all when I said, hey, Janae, Gordon says Janae is good.
Turned out to be true, Judy.
Yeah. Well, Gordon has good instincts.
Okay, well, is there anything special any action we need to take on this?
I have one other thing that I want to raise with Billy. And Billy, I want you to seriously consider finding someone who will help you remove meters in the next go-round, someone that we would pay. We don't have, the water department is a little flush with cash. The water department doesn't have to pay the $3,000 next year because of the budget that we've just approved doesn't have that rent. I think that you would be well served if you had somebody helping you. You used to have Carla, but she can't do it now. I know that you get concerned about help, but help is good.
You sure?
Yeah, the right help, which is why I think you should be looking for the person.
Well, it's hard to find people that want to really work. That's
Well,
fine.
you know, you can find, at least in October, there might still be some of the little old men around here who like to get a little pocket change.
Well, that's probably true. We put David back to work.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look, see what I can come up with.
I have a question about like notifying people to apply. Should we also post it on the, whatever you send to Dan Webster, should we also post it on the official village bulletin boards? We just have some people, as I, who constantly remind me that they don't do computer stuff and why doesn't somebody mail all of this? And my response is, the village posts everything also, which is what there is, I understand it, you obligated to do. So I think anything we send to Dan, ask Dan Webster to post, we should probably post on the bulletin boards too.
I think that's a good idea.
Right.
So we can write up something, share it amongst ourselves in the next couple days, get posted.
There's a Tamara and Wilt that would like to be on that.
It'd be good, and then she'd probably be less cranky about Jeffrey doing it.
That's right. They both could get along on the same job. How's that?
Tamara says she knows where you live.
I like her comments that she tells me about school, so I think she
That's why virtual meetings are good. The knife is not a real threat. All right. Anything else, guys? Hey, Freddie, you participated. Do you have any questions or comments?
Hey, Judy, thank you. No, I appreciate you guys providing the opportunity for the public to listen in. And I think you all know I'm having more time available to be involved. So I appreciate your courtesy today.
Yeah, thanks. And Mike was on, and he did have his hand up at one point, but then he disappeared. So I don't think we have anyone else.
Motion to adjourn, or next meeting.
Oh,
Next meeting.
so September. The overseers meetings aren't set yet, but I imagine based on the schedule for financials, the overseers meeting might be Sunday the 13th. Does that sound about right, Nina? Nodding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would make us, this one, September the 11th, an auspicious day.
Yeah,
And that, by that point, that should be when the holes start being dug.
yeah.
So Dick, you'll let us know when the pre-construction meeting's gonna be, so that we can tell people.
If I know anything further, I will definitely let everybody know, yes. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, both the seawall and the chlorination building project forward. I think it's a good thing for everybody.
Yeah.
I would also point out, this has nothing to do with the minutes, that Dick now has 2 metallic hips. And he seems to be doing very well, and hopefully will be a grand success for him.
I feel like a new man. You know, it's amazing what these doctors can do today.
That's great. Well, it's good to hear your voice and see your face.
Yeah, feel a lot better, I can tell you.
Okay. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Nina, when you have minutes, would you send them to me, and then I'll work with diffusing them to everybody else. Thank
Okay.
you. Great. Bye-bye.